Our top focus story this evening, beef lovers in Maharashtra will now have to do without the red meat. The Maharashtra government has imposed a blanket ban on the sale and possession of beef in the state. Under the new law, anyone selling beef or in possession of the meat can be jailed for up to 5 years and fined up to rupees 10,000. The ban comes after President Pranab Mukherjee's assent to the Maharashtra Animal Preservation Amendment Bill, nearly 19 years after the State Assembly passed the bill during the 1995 BJP Shiv Sena rule. The law will ban the slaughter of bulls and bullocks, which was previously allowed based on a fit-for-slaughter certificate. While the outrage has poured in on social media against the government step, Chief Minister Devendra Fadnavis lauded the move, saying that the dream of a ban on cow slaughter has finally become a reality. My colleague Kamlesh Sutar, tracking developments on the story, is joining me live from Mumbai. Kamlesh, there is a lot of outrage on social media as far as this issue is concerned. Beef ban is in fact the top trend in India as we speak. Is there a lot of outrage in Mumbai? What are you hearing from people?
Well, indeed, there are two different types of opposition. One from the political parties, particularly the NCP, that has openly opposed the move, saying that this will adversely affect the farmers, particularly given the situation of a drought in Maharashtra, where farmers are struggling for their daily needs, and when they have to feed these animals, they'll have to spend a lot on these animals, and that the only option left with them is to sell these animals or the livestock to butchers, and they will be the most affected. The NCP has urged the government to make some arrangements for these farmers and then sell it. On the other hand, the beef exporters or the community that deals with it, particularly the Khatik or the Qureshi community, which deals with it, is very angered by this decision. They say that the state government will render almost thousands of people jobless in Mumbai. We at least have some 900 legal beef shops and equal number of illegal shops in Mumbai. So a lot of people are dependent for their daily bread and butter on the industry. And it's not only beef or the mutton red meat that is sold, it's also the leather industry that is dependent on it. In Dharavi, we have a big leather industry that will be affected. So a lot of social as well as economic repercussions. So they are planning to move against it. We'll have to wait and watch what stand the beef exporters or the take. But certainly there's an outrage against this move.
Well, there is an outrage undoubtedly, Kamlesh, and it's on the streets of Bombay as much as it is on social media. Joining me for a perspective from the ruling party is Shaina NC of the BJP. Shaina, thanks so much for joining us this evening. There are cultural and economic and social implications of this new rule that your government has in fact put in place. Does it not appear very openly that the BJP is succumbing to pressure of the right wing? There is a partisan political color to this move that's going to be very difficult for you to shake off.
I think it's very unfortunate to give this kind of an angle to a debate. The ban on cow slaughter is not something that is new to India. It has been previous governments as well. Post-independence itself and even pre-independence. On one hand, you worship the cow. You have had Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation. What color was he giving to his argument, suggesting the same? So if you're going to contradict an opinion of the father of the nation, then you have every right to contradict our opinion. But having said that, look at the... yeah, go ahead.
You know, Shaina, the argument on social media, and I'm quoting a tweet that I just read, says that, there are abandoned cows on the streets of Maharashtra that the government doesn't care about, but the government is really busy telling its people what they can eat and what they can't eat. How are you going to, how are you going to counter an argument like that?
No, clearly. I mean, I don't think that there is something to suggest that cows would be treated better if we don't have a holistic package, which is to ensure that there is a certain kind of livelihood for people, which is derived through products made by, whether it's cow urine or whatever else we have, which is only talks about our cultural heritage. But that apart, let's keep that aside for a minute. Why I keep saying that this is a historic step, because we had passed this act when we were in power in 1995.
That's right.
And then sent it to the president for a nod in 1996, if you recall.
That's right.
And subsequent governments in the, post that have also talked about it but have not implemented. So if our government has done it as a first, let's view the health angles,
Okay.
the sociological angles, the economic benefits. And not just that, let's realize that there are some things about cultural heritage. This is a propaganda which had started at Mahatma Gandhi's time, and our government is only progressively
All right,
taken it
Shaina,
forward.
I'm also going to get in a word from Prahlad Kakkad, who's just joining us on the broadcast. Prahlad, thanks for joining us this evening. Shaina, NC is defending this as a historic step. But there is a lot of outrage on social media, as there is on the streets of Mumbai, with people coming out and arguing that, you know, there is an intrinsic communal, political, partisan color to this move that's going to be very difficult for the BJP to shake off.
See, it's not just communal. What happens is, in a system like this, it's all knee-jerk, because it's the cheapest protein that poor people can actually eat.
That's
to
right.
a certain extent. Now, forget about the cultural things and all. When you deprive people of cheap protein of that kind, then it becomes a huge issue, especially among communities that might be essentially non-Hindu,
Right.
like the Christians and the Muslims. Now, I agree with one aspect of it, which is the ban on the export of beef from this country, because that is sort of, you know, we are compounding the issue. But when it comes down to protein for certain communities in this country that eat it by tradition, then I think that's grossly unfair. Tomorrow the Muslims will want a ban on pigs.
Right.
And because they're a bigger majority than the Christians who eat pork, and Hindus who to a certain extent eat pork.
Prahlad, I want
Then what are you
China
going
to
do?
respond. I want China to respond to that point. China, your government is essentially taking away the protein of the poor. How are you going to respond to that?
I would say the other argument, the government is also encouraging a livelihood through preservation of cows, and the amount of products that go unnoticed. Look at the history of Ayurveda in this country. Look at the health benefits as well. And you feel that by slaughtering cows, we are kind
But
of
why
suggesting
only
some
cows?
kind
Why
of
only
right-wing
cows?
politics.
Why don't you? Why
I think it's
doesn't your
very
government talk
unfortunate.
about equal
And it
animal
is
rights?
not
China,
about-
why only cows?
One second. One second. There are lots of sociological health benefits also related to the cow. And this is not about having an opinion which is right-wing, please. Let's move beyond that and realize that this is previous governments have also discussed this. The cow is worshipped in our country, and on the other hand slaughtered. Do we worship pigs? Do we worship pigs? Please answer me. And that apart, please, progressively, everything does not have to be an issue. At this rate, everything the government does, we will only be giving explanations. It is not about only Jainism. Yes, there are a lot of people who have been propagating it and suggesting the health benefits, suggesting
Prahlad
the ecological,
Kakkad, do you sense a cultural indifference over here? You know, respect for one faith and disregard for another.
Well, I don't think it's been thought through personally. All these health benefits and sociological benefits and cow's urine and cow dung and all that is very fine. There's enough of that. I mean, there's no shortage of that. Just by banning cow slaughter does not mean that suddenly you're going to have a surplus of cow urine in the country. That's rubbish. Because the amount of illegal slaughter that's going to happen now, which is going to drive the whole business underground,
Right.
which nobody can monitor it.
Absolutely.
So it's going to be done instead of doing it in an abattoir, which is a relatively healthy way to monitor it and to actually see that it's done correctly. You'll be doing it in the back streets of all the gully goochies of the choice.
That's a very important point, Prahlad Kakkad, that you raised. Shaina NC, I want you to respond to that. You know, economic implications and cultural implications aside, how does the government actually plan to implement something like this? You're going to treat beef like a contraband substance. You're going to treat it equivalent to a party drug. How really are you going to check the underground market that this is going to fuel? How are you going to impose checks and balances? How are you going to implement a move like this?
Very valid point, and I think that every time any government comes up with something which is slightly revolutionary, there are occupational hazards. But having said that, there are penalties, there are fines when it comes to cow slaughter. And not just that, I think that as a government and as a society, to highlight the benefits of products derived out of cows is also something which has gone unnoticed, and which is something that we need to revive as a cultural legacy. I mean, why other than this would Mahatma Gandhi have propagated so vociferously to ban cow slaughter in our country?
Okay, I want to go across to Kamlesh Sutar, my colleague who's live with us from Bombay, who's been tracking developments on this story. Kamlesh, I want to bring you in on the point of implementation. You know, you're a resident of Bombay, just like Shaina NC and Prahlad Kakkar. How difficult is it going to be for the government to implement something like this? You know, beef being treated as a contraband substance. How are they going to impose checks and balances on something like this? How are you going to open a beef burger and see if it's beef or chicken or another meat which is illegal or illegal?
Well, indeed, implementation is going to be one big problem. See, this is not this government or the previous government, the Congress NCP government. Even they have indulged into moral policing and bans, be it the dance bar in Mumbai or ban on gutka. The implementation has always been a problem. Now, Maharashtra government banned dance bars, but aren't they running in Mumbai? Well, they are running in Mumbai into pockets, and in fact, they are running with the police and the bar owners hand in glove. So, dance bar are running in Mumbai. Gutka was banned in Maharashtra. A packet of gutka which used to cost 5 rupees, now which is sold in black market for 10 and 15 rupees. So when it comes to implementation, it only increases black marketing.
It's going to be a nightmare as far as implementation.
There's demand
absolutely.
For it,
as far as implementation is going to concerned, it's going to be a nightmare for the government to treat beef as a contraband substance. Whether this ban is justified or not, and can the government really tell people what they can eat and what they can't, is of course you know, a whole new question. For the moment, Shaina NC, Prahlad Kakkar and Kamlesh Sutar, I'm afraid I'm completely out of time. Thank you so much for joining us on this broadcast. This is a story, of course.
What I want to know is how they're going to differentiate between buffalo and beef.
Absolutely. That is in fact the question that I had also raised. It's going to be difficult for the government, like I said, to implement this. For the moment, thank you so much for joining me. I'm completely